Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGeek webinar series, our endeavor to impart techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Selenium Test Automation. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Ganesh Sahai, founder, Test to be Best Testing Community, and ex-quality manager at Adobe Systems. Mr. Ganesh Sahai has done his BTech from IIT Delhi and EGMP from IIM Lucknow. He has been a founder, co-founder, and founder team member of few startup companies and initiatives in the field of information technology, marketing, and academics. He has worked for 12 years at Adobe since 1999. He has led and set up many of the key testing teams from scratch for various Adobe products like Acrobat, Adobe Reader, AIR, Creative Suite, tools, etc., spanning desktops, handhelds, hosted and enterprise area. His zeal for innovation while involved in testing has got his 16 ideas approved for patents. As commitment towards taking the testing professionals to the next level of evolution through engagement with each other, he has founded the Test to be Best testing community. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to Mr. Sai.
Yeah, thanks, Moini. Thanks, Moini, for the kind introduction. And welcome everybody to this session on Selenium Test Automation. So objectives of this webinar are that we will understand to warm up, why do we need to automate our testing, and why Selenium in particular may be useful. And then I'll introduce you to the Selenium automation tool and framework, and we'll have a look at the integrated development environment given by Selenium, and we will walk through what Selenium 1.0 is, that is Selenium RC and the Selenium grid, and then move on to the next version of Selenium, which is Selenium 2.0, which comprises Selenium WebDriver and Grid 2.0. And then we'll have a look at some of the cool stuff related to extensions, capturing screenshots, capturing videos, and data-driven testing. And finally, we'll have a small quiz to see, how much you have grasped in this webinar. So all the best in advance. Okay, a quick introduction that has already been given by Moini, so I'll skip this and let me start the webinar. Okay, now if we, let me start with sharing with you the different development models which are there. Now, if you see, the earliest one was the waterfall model, and then came the V model, and further improvement to that led to W model, and spiral model was another one, and the most popular one in today's environment is the agile model, and one of the popular methodologies using agile model is the Scrum. So if we typically look at the agile or the Scrum, we start with user stories, and that comprises the product backlog, and from there, the stories are picked up for each sprint, and there are story points for each sprint, and then we develop those stories in the sprint, which is typically of 20 days or maybe less, and then at the end we have a sprint retrospective as to see how we have been delivering with respect to actual versus expected. And on successive sprint completion, the regression suite starts to grow. Now, Okay. Now, what happens is that the testing starts to become a bottleneck in earning the story points due to above if it is done manually, especially with fixed number of test engineers which are there in the team. As the sprint progresses, uh, uh, we have the previous stories which are developed need to be tested with respect to regression testing, and it is but quite natural that the regression bucket will grow. And given the fixed tenure of the sprint time that we have, uh, we need more time to be spent on regression testing if we are doing it manually. But we have fixed number of engineers, so we really can't. We don't have the luxury of spending more time on manual testing for the regression suite. So we need a test automation strategy to be in place to make the agile successful for the team. Because as per the principle of the agile, the team which comprises of the programmer, the program manager, the product manager, and the testers, they as a whole cannot move to the next set of stories in the next sprint till the time everybody is complete. And if testing becomes a bottleneck, then the whole team cannot move forward. You can find more details about these models and Agile Manifesto and all the stuff related to basic stuff related to Agile on the software testing course that we have on techgig.com, and which I have authored and is available on the link given on the screen. Now, so what are the challenges of manual testing? As a feature keep adding up in the software, the regression suite increases, and manual testing takes a long time to do. This I just discussed with you. Also, the testing is monotonous because you already tested these stories and you're just retesting them again and again. So it gets very monotonous, and it also gets prone to human error. Hence, the time to deliver goes up, and the risks of bugs slipping into releases also increases. And both these 2 points, that is the increased time to deliver and the bugs slipping into releases in today's marketplace is quite detrimental to the user or the customer acquisition, and hence it will erode the equity of the company and eventually losing out in the competition. So how can we overcome these challenges? Now, one of the ways could be that we put in more resources. Now, if we put in more resources, it will add to the cost and does not address the human error aspects. Other could be that we reduce the regression suite, but that adds to the risks of the quality of delivery. So what do? So we got to have a software to test the software. That is, we automate it. But automating comes with a cost. So you have to justify the cost of test automation. That is, give a clear picture of what is the return on the investment. Now, if we look at the various applications and their specific needs and test areas, so the various applications could be like desktop applications, web applications, client-server applications, mobile applications, etc. And their various needs and hence the test areas could be like functional testing, performance testing, memory testing, and so on. So let us focus just on the functional test automation of the web applications. And if we take that area, there are various tools available to do this kind of a test automation, functional test automation. So various tools that are available are Selenium, which is an open source tool, QTP, which is from HP, Test Complete, which is from SmartGear, Rational Functional Tester from IBM. So these are some of the popular tools you might have heard for test automation of web applications. And in today's webinar, we are going to focus on Selenium. What are the advantages of Selenium? So if we look at number one is that it's open source. So the source code is available to you, and a lot of bright people are contributing to the development of this tool, and you yourself to customize it for the needs of your organization can pick up the source code and add to it and then use it in your organization. And it comes free of cost. So hence cost of acquiring this tool and running it is zero, unlike the other proprietary tool where you have to give hefty amounts per seat usage. So that's not the case with Selenium. It's free and it's widely used. So it has been well established that it's a very good tool. It's robust. It doesn't, for example, it doesn't crash on heavy usage, and lot of support from the community for this tool. So that's another advantage of using Selenium. And many of the leading companies actively support the Selenium body, and it is one of the companies that actively supports is Google. Okay, so let me just give you a quick demo of how to create a simple or record a simple test using Selenium and run it. So let us say we have a test case that that we have to check the title of the Google page. So the steps would be: step 1, launch the browser, and then type google.com, and then verify that the title of the page is Google. That is, if I were to show you, so let us say, so this is my Google page, and this is, if I go to google.com, this is my Google page, and the title that comes over here is this one. So if I were to automate it, how do I do it? So for that, so let me go to Firefox, and in Firefox you will see there is a entry called Selenium ID. This comes when you install Selenium ID, and if I click on this, right? So so let me just for the time being delete this, and what I'll do is I'll say open, okay, open, and the base URL comes over here. So I'll say this is a symbol that is used to indicate that open this base URL, right? And your next step is that I want to verify the title. Okay, so I say verify title, and then I say Google. That is the title that comes over here. Okay, now if I were to run this test, so see, so let me just move it a little bit over here, yeah, and run this. Okay, so let me clear this log and run it for you. Okay, so it is opening the page and it goes into the, maybe it's not that clear, so let me just take you to some other page and then run this, clear this and run this. Okay. So it goes to Google page, it checks the title, and the color changes for each step that get executed successfully. The color changes to light green, and over here you see this green bar come up, which indicates that the test has got executed. Now let us say if you have a site like, let's say, flipkart.com, okay, so and or any page. So if you see, there are so many links over there. So if you go to clothing, or if you, so there is a title for clothing over here, formal shirt, let's say, title for that over there, and so on and so forth, or you have books, right? So just a basic example that, let us say, for an e-commerce site like this, if you were to verify each and every title of each and every page on successive builds, doing it manually would be a humongous task. And if you automate it, so much effort is saved. Okay, so let's move on. So let me give you a brief history of evolution of Selenium. And as the web applications started to increase, there was an era when desktop applications were very popular as the the computers start to become more mainstream, and as internet usage picked up, the web applications became really popular. So as the web application started to increase, there was a need for lightweight and fast tool to author and execute tests. So in 2004, Jason R. Huggins invented a tool to do the above, and later was joined by the team at ThoughtWorks. It got launched as an open source tool and could be used for free. Now at that time, some proprietary paid tools like QTP were being developed by a company called Mercury, now which later got acquired by HP. So it's now referred to as HP QTP. Now at that point of time, jokingly, Jason and the team started to refer their open source tool as Selenium, because Selenium is an element in periodic table which can be used to cure mercury poisoning. Mercury is another element in the periodic table. So, so they started to refer to their tool as Selenium, that it can cure mercury poisoning. And eventually the name Selenium caught on. So initially it got started as a JavaScript library which could capture the items in web pages and run tests against them. This library which they started with was the core of the Selenium tool that they developed, and this was eventually called as Selenium core. In order to enable the testers to record and play test cases, just as we did right now, I showed you the UI which came up, in which I wrote down open and all that. So that is that integrated development environment was built, and it is known by the name of Selenium ID. And in order to enable testers directly code tests in any programming language without going via the record route, so in the sense that if somebody doesn't want to use that ID, but want to write code, let's say using Java or C#, so and also run them in the IDs that they are accustomed to, or which are most popularly used, like Eclipse, etc., and then run them on various browsers. So that is Chrome, Internet Explorer. So to cater to all that, another component called Selenium RC was developed. So here the RC stands for remote control, and it's also commonly known as Selenium 1.0. Selenium RC was a server. It was written in Java, and which would pass commands to browsers via HTTP, and Selenium core helped to execute those commands inside the browsers. So so there were respective client drivers to enable test scripts written in Perl, Python, Java, etc. to execute via RC and Selenium core on various browsers. So you write a script, and then it will invoke through the various client drivers. It would go to the Selenium core. So that is a Selenium core on the various browsers, and which will then execute the test on the various browsers. Now, as the web apps became more popular, they were target of security attacks, and hence browsers started to build a strong security model to prevent malicious scripts from executing on the user's end. So, so this started to put restrictions on testing all functionalities of the web pages and applications via Selenium core. For example, file uploads, etc. At that point of time, a new web testing framework called WebDriver got developed by a person called Simon Stewart while he was at ThoughtWorks. It was similar to Selenium, except that it did not work through JavaScript route. So instead of being a JavaScript application running inside the browser, it works via operating system and uses the most appropriate native mechanism of the browsers to control the web page. And this enables to get those elements which were earlier out of reach. And eventually in 2006, while at Google, Simon carried on with WebDriver work. Both Selenium and WebDriver had their set of pros and cons, and it was thought that merging the two can bring the best of both the tools. And eventually Selenium and WebDriver were merged and called as Selenium WebDriver, and it is commonly known as Selenium 2.0. So on August 6, 2009, in a joint mail to the Selenium community, this is what Simon Stewart wrote. Why are the projects merging? Partly because WebDriver addresses some shortcomings in Selenium by being able to bypass the JS sandbox, for example, and we have got a gorgeous API. Partly because Selenium addresses some shortcomings in WebDriver, such as supporting a broader range of browsers, and partly because the main Selenium contributors and I felt that it was the best way to offer users the best possible framework. And indeed he was right actually. Selenium had a very good base. It was a huge community. A lot of people were using it. A lot of people had written their automated their test cases using Selenium. And WebDriver was the future way to go for an automation tool like Selenium. So the merging of the two brought the best in both the tools. So along the way, it was felt that in real life testing, there are various combinations to be tested, like multiple browsers. So you have to test the application, let's say on Firefox, IE, Chrome, etc. And then there could be multiple versions of these browsers. For example, Firefox, 18, 17, 12, 11, etc. And then similarly, IE 6, 7, 8, etc. and so on. Then there are multiple operating systems and their versions, Windows 7, Windows 8, and so on. So if we do this testing sequentially, it will take a long time. So if we basically take combinations of these one by one, it will take a long time. So we need a mechanism where we can run these tests in parallel for various combinations on multiple machines and multiple browsers at the same time. So a server to fulfill this need has been developed. A server to fulfill this need has been developed and is called Selenium Grid. The one corresponding to Selenium 1.0 is generally referred to as Grid 1, and the one corresponding to Selenium 2.0 is generally referred to as Grid 2. So this is what the overall history is about the evolution of Selenium. So if you have any questions, you can type it on the chat box, and in between I'll depending upon the time, I'll keep on answering your questions. Okay. All right. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so let me now start to cover the various pieces of Selenium. So let's first look at Selenium ID. So just to further introduce you to Selenium ID, Selenium ID is an extension added to the Firefox. So when I say extensions, if I go to Firefox, and if I click on over here, there are add-ons which are there, and in these add-ons, you have these extensions and add-ons. So for example, if I go over here, so you can type whatever extension you're looking for example Selenium, and it will show you the Selenium, and I've already installed Selenium ID on my browser, Firefox browser. So you can install going to the extension, right, and you can quickly launch it through this Selenium ID which I showed to you. Now if you look at the ID, so there are various components, and I'll just give you a brief introduction about what are these various components, but let me just share some basic details about Selenium ID. There is a core JavaScript library, Selenium core, that interprets. So what happens is that Selenium is the IDE helps you to record the scripts, and inside the browser there is a core JavaScript library called the Selenium core that interprets these Selenium commands and exercises them on the page displayed using browser's JavaScript engine. So you write scripts which get interpreted by the JavaScript library Selenium, and that then by accessing the browser's JavaScript engine does various stuffs on the web pages. For example, clicking on a link or reading text and verifying whether that text is okay or not, verifying the title, things like that. And the recording of this scripts is in simple HTML files. So let's do a walkthrough of this ID. So if I were to show you this, so for example, here was a simple script which said open google.co.in and verify the title. Now if you go to the source of this is an HTML format, where if you see each row represents the step. So for example, open and then the verify. So each row of this script will be represented as a row in this table inside the HTML format. So in a way, you can, if you're not doing record and play, so you can edit it with whatever next steps that you want, right? Save it and run it. So that's another way to record your code your script and run it. And you can export these test cases in various test frameworks like JUnit, TestNG, and NUnit, and the various languages. So if I were to export it as a JUnit 4, let's say, right? And let me do it on my desktop. So let's say that test 001, right? And if I were to save this, okay, go to save this and go back to this, edit it using, let's say, TextPad. Okay, so if I were to do this, so you can see it has recorded the whole script in a as a Java, and which is compatible with the JUnit 4 framework. Okay. All right. So let's move back to Firefox ID. Okay. Now here you see it gives you how to create a new test case, open an existing test case, save the test case or save test case as whatever different formats are available. It gives you that, and then you can export the test cases, and you can create test suites, that is collection of test cases into different test suites that you can do. And this is editing dialog, and various actions which are there in terms of recording, and then playing either the entire test suite or playing just the current test case, and some of the other things which are available. Also, you have various options available in terms of the encodium or the extension, or remembering the base URL, and so on and so forth. And then the various formats which are supported, and various settings for that which are there, so that are there, and the various plugins which are there. So for example, C# plugin, Java, Python, Ruby, those, and the locator builders which are there, which we will talk about the locators in a while. Okay, so that's the options part, and of course you have the various kind of documentations available, and also the official Selenium website which is there, which you can this is the official Selenium website, that is seleniumhq.org, and a whole lot of information is available for this over there. Okay, so Yeah, in fact, another way to install Selenium ID is that if you go to download and go to Selenium ID, you know, um, you can just click on this, right, and it will prompt you to, install the Selenium ID. So this is, I found it to be the best way to install Selenium ID on your system. Okay, coming back to ID, yeah, so this is the base URL in the sense that you don't have to type the URL again and again. So you specify it over here, and then this slash is used to refer it to again and again. So it is equivalent to open and this link, and this is to vary the speed of execution. So if it is taking time for the items on the page to load up, so you can slow the speed of the test execution. This is to run the whole test suite. This is to run single test, and while the tests are running, these are to pause. And there is a way to set breakpoints. That is, you want to the test to stop at a given point and see what the result and then continue. So this is for resuming, or just if you pause in between and you resume, so it will resume like that. And then here the list of test cases will keep on coming. Here you see you type in the command and it gives you the details of the it gives you you can enter the command over here and we'll see what are the different commands available. We don't have time to go through all of them, but I have a full-fledged course on Selenium test automation on TechGig, which you can subscribe to and learn about all these commands. And then the target and the value. And for each of the command, you have the reference description that comes up, and when you run the test, the log, that is each step, what was the result of that, that keeps on coming over here. So for example, if I if I don't give this over here, right, and then go back to this, and let's say I go to this, right, and now let us try to run this command again. So if I were to do this, let's see what happens. Okay, and it opens and say Google did not match Google because I had given Google, and the title that is coming over here is this. So that way, it helps us to um, um, identify whether the test case has failed or not. So that's a log for you. Okay, what else do I have in ID? Okay. So the log, the reference, and the various UI elements and the rollups can be seen up over here. But I'm not covering UI and elements and rollup because I have other things to cover. It will take a lot of time. All right, so that's a brief about Selenium ID, and let me now get back to the presentation. Okay, let's see what we got. Now, as we saw that there was a section where we could give the Selenium command. Now, these commands that are given to inside the Selenium scripts are known as Selenese. So, a set of commands used to run the test are called as Selenium commands, and they are generally referred to as Selenese. And a sequence of these commands is generally referred to as a test scripts. So let us look at some of these commands in the ID itself. So if I were to look in the commands, verify title was one, but I can see the whole host of commands which are there. So there are various asserts available, and then for example, assert not text, assert not title, assert not value, not visible, right? Click and wait, close, right, check and wait, quite a number of them, right, are there, and which are more than sufficient. In fact, you will not be using all of them. Only a subset of this is sufficient for you to automate the major functionality of your applications. And in fact, for the verify itself, there are a whole lot of text. So verify check, verify cookie by name, verify cookie not present, right? Verify title, verify text, verify text, verify table, text present, text not present, a whole lot of stuff is available over here. So these are what is referred to as the Selenese or the Selenium commands. And okay, now the next thing that we saw in the Selenium IDEs just below the commands was the target. So most of the Selenium commands required a target. So for example, for open, I needed a target which was the base URL. So I had this slash over here. And then for verify title, I had the target, that is the value Google. So like that. And so this is where we give the target, and the target identifies the element on the web page. So and I'll show you some scripts whereby you need to basically tell the script. So first is the thing is a command that you give, that is opening or whatever else you want to do, verify the title or the text, and the next thing is the target, that on which element of the web page what do you want to do. So run this command on. So that's where that's what the target identifies, and it consists of a location strategy followed by the location in the format. So in the sense that if you look at the Google page, right, and if I were to launch a tool like Firebug, right, yeah, here it is. Now if you see the source page of this, right, so this is the HTML and this is the head over here, right, and the title is Google, and then here's a whole lot of body, and there are different divs inside it, and inside each div there are different elements. Now if let's say I want to see what is this element, so there you are. So this is what is the input ID is GS underscore HIF, this is blah blah, and or if I were to see what is this, so this is div ID HP logo, right, or if I were to find out what is this element, right, so this will say this is span VGA this, and inside this there is a span VT, and the class is gbit, and the text shown is sign in, right. So like that you need to access different elements of the HTML page where you want to do the execution, and this is how tools like, for example, Firebug can help you to locate what is the ID or what is the name of the particular element, and you need to basically give the ID or the name as a locator type, and then the value of it. So for example, let's say if I want to access an element with the ID GBQFQW, right? So I'll say ID is equal to this, or if the attribute uses name, then I need to say name equal to whatever that name is. So that's what it referred to as, and so the locator types could be an identifier. So I can say identifier is equal to this, or ID is equal to this, or name is equal to this, and sometimes you give the whole XPath. So XPath is so if I were to go back to this, and you will have so you can have, for example, let's say hold on, if I go to this HTML, okay, so if I were to for example so this is the path for the whole of this one. So there are tools which will give you what the XML path is for a given location, and you can use that path to give the hierarchical way to get down to that element for that in that page. So you can use XPath, you can straight away give the link, or you can use the DOM path or the CSS path. So you can have CSS paths from here, right, for a given element, or you can have the DOM path from here, right, and so on. All right. Okay. Okay. So let me move on. The other thing is that when you basically are giving you want to when you are giving the let's say the name or the ID of the element of the web page to be reached, either you can have an exact one, right? That is, for example, let's say as we saw in this, that we had the exact ID over here, let's say GBQ FQW B, right? Now, so one is that you have exact name that you want to match, or you can have something like star dot star dot QW, let's say. So all the elements with star.qw, you want to access them and do the action. Or you can have the regular expression. Let's say, wherever you have a matching date format, for example, and you want to verify that those elements are accessed. So for example, dd mm y. So there are different pattern matching options available, which you can exercise to match the patterns for these various locations for the locator types. So that is identifier, ID, name, and XPath, and so on. So we have seen how to create test in Selenium ID just now, and how to use Selenium commands and record and run the test. Now, and we have also seen that the source is in HTML format. But the HTML is not a programming language, and hence not suitable enough to code test cases and manage test cases. And using programming languages enables to make tests more robust and take advantage of features like setups and tear downs of testing frameworks, which is not feasible in HTML scripting. So the other thing is that Selenium ID is available only on Firefox. So in real life, if you see, the web pages and applications will run on different kind of browsers like IE, Chrome, etc. And the challenge is that how do we expand the test coverage to cover all these browsers? So the answer to this challenge is Selenium Remote Control, which is also commonly known as Selenium RC or Selenium 1.0. And what Selenium RC does is that it enables to run tests written in any programming language like Java, C#, etc. and run these tests against different types of JavaScript enabled browsers like IE, Chrome, Firefox, etc. So what it needs to do is that is the Selenium RC that establish end-to-end connection between the tests and the application under test, that is the web page of the application running inside the browser, and then report back the test results to us. But to achieve this, it needs to either have Selenium core, that is the JavaScript library, on the web server serving these web pages, so that every time a web page is served, it comes along with it and gets loaded in the browser, so that the Selenium commands can be interpreted and run. But this is not a feasible solution. The other way is to inject the core by some other mechanism, and this is where the Selenium RC comes into picture and takes care of this. So as it runs the test on AUT on different browsers, it injects the Selenium core, which interprets the Selenium commands and run the tests. And the various platforms it supports to enable doing this are the Firefox browser, the Chrome browser, IE, Opera, and Safari. And operating systems are Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Solaris, and the various programming languages that are supported are C#, Java, Perl, PHP, Python, and Ruby. And the various testing frameworks that are supported are JUnit, TestNG, NUnit, RSpec, and Unit Test. You can find a complete list over here, the link given over here. Let me give you a quick demo of Selenium RC. Okay, so I have the Selenium RC running over here. So let me just close this session. Okay, so Okay. Uh, so I have installed, you can download Selenium remote control from the official site that I showed you, and extract the zip file, and this will be the folder like Selenium server 103, and the content of this might look like this. So you have the various jar files and some Java docs, and the server file is Selenium server -jar, and to run this, what you have to do is just type java -jar Selenium server -jar. So if I run this, okay, so that gets my Selenium RC up and running, and uh, and a typical test now would look like, so for example, a JUnit test which I exported and edited it, so it will look like this. So I'm not covering the basics of JUnit in this webinar, but the course that I just mentioned has introductory tutorial on JUnit, Eclipse, Java, basics of HTML, using tools like Firebug, and all that stuff is there. So you will know what all these things annotations mean. So what it is doing is basically it's instantiating Selenium, right, by using this API, and then it is starting Selenium. And what I am doing over here is, in this test, that this Selenium, I'm passing the I'm invoking the function open, and it's the same format actually, if you see. So it's opening the base URL, then I type name equal to Q. So name is the locator identifier, and this is the locator that I'm giving over here. And so let me just quickly show you that slide again. So if you go, yeah, it is the locator type and the location. So I'm using name, and the location I'm giving as Q. So Q is a name of an element that exists in the page Google, which is there. So maybe if I were to search it quickly. So okay, so maybe some mistakes, I'll not go in over here, but you can do this check at your end. It will take, we are running out of time, so I will not do that right now for you. So you type name equal to Q. In that, this is basically the text box in which on the Google page you type the query. So this text box is referred by the name is equal to Q, and then I click GVQFQ, right, which is basically if you were to do this, so this refers to this. So the moment you start to type, it will switch to this mode. So this will, once I'm done, it will click this. So I'm referring to click this, and so then I verify whether so when I enter test to be best, for example, so if I were to enter test to be best, right, and it shows, and then I want to verify whether this comes up or not, that is Facebook link for the test to be best comes up on it, so which is basically this link I'm trying to verify. And then I have some other tests, second test and third and so on. So this is a JUnit test, and to run it, I'll just go over here, and I will say run this JUnit test, and it will start running it, and it has invoked the Google Chrome, right, if you see, right, and it has opened up Google. It has typed test to be best, executed, and once it found that everything is fine, verified the text which is coming up, so it passes the test. So this is how you use Selenium RC. Now a quick thing over here is that that I was running it as a JUnit test, and you can write another kind of test also, which are there. And once the test is done, there are other things like stop the Selenium server and all that stuff is there. Okay, so this is how you basically run a simple a test using Selenium RC. Yeah, another thing I wanted to show was that over here I had used Google Chrome. and there are other browsers that I can launch. So I can type IE Explorer over here. It will launch Internet Explorer, and similarly Firefox and other ones, right? Okay. Next is Selenium Grid. So I think we are running short of time, so I will take some of the questions in the last 5 minutes. Okay. The challenge with the online app is that on the user side there could be any kind of combination of various variables. Text boxes, check. So one is that there are various kind of variables on the web page, and then there are the environments themselves, on the user side are different. So somebody is using Windows 7, somebody is using Windows 8, somebody is using Red Hat, somebody is using Ubuntu, somebody is using Mac. Then there are these various versions of these, and there are various service packs over there. So let us say on OS side, Windows, Mac, and Linux are 3 variants, and browsers are IE, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, etc. Now, if you delve further, there are versions, service packs, and languages also. So, English, UK, US, Chinese, Japanese, French, Italian, German, Spanish, so many. And so, if we were to test on all of them, right, that's a real challenge actually. And Selenium Grid is the answer to that. That is, it is a tool that extends Selenium RC by running tests on different instances of such combinations in parallel. And it reduces the time and subsequently the cost for testing in various browsers under multiple operating systems. So just to share with you, the term grid comes from the term grid computing, which generally refers to as distributed computing system in which a kind of super virtual computer is enabled, consisting of loosely coupled computers acting together to perform a large task. And hence the term grid and Selenium Grid has come. So it enables running tests in distributed test execution environment. It enables to have a central point from where Selenium commands can be sent to various instances of Selenium. That is, you have a central place where you run the test, which consists of Selenium commands, and then it basically send them across to different instances, which are nothing but the one piece of the various combinations which we want to run the test on. Now this central point is referred to as a hub, and the various instances are that of Selenium RC, which are connected to the hub and can be configured to run on different machines with different operating systems and browsers. So, more pictorially, it will look like you have the test automation script, which consists of Selenium commands. You send it to the hub, and then hub finds out whether on which systems you want to run it on. So which you pass, the information is passed to the hub that these are the instances that we want the test to be run. And so whether on Google Chrome on Windows, IE on Windows, Firefox and Windows, and so on, you would have configured on the web on the hub. And then it passes those Selenium commands to the application under test on these instances. And this whole thing, that is hub and these instances, correspond to what is referred to as Selenium Grid. And using Selenium grids, you can either run serial tests, but then when you have multiple number of machines, so you can now run tests in parallel. That is, if you were running, let's say, 10 test suits now on a single machine, which was taking, let's say, 10 hours, and now if you set up 10 machines, you can run them parallelly, so it will take 1/10 of the time. That is, in 1 hour, you will be done with the whole testing. And as I shared with you that in order to run tests on various browsers, Selenium RC got developed. So if I were to share more pictorially with you, so you had different browsers, Firefox, IE, and Chrome, on which you had the application under test, and the Selenium core was there, which came through which came through the ID or the remote control server. And the test returns in Java, C#, Python, Ruby, Perl, or PHP, via the client libraries for these languages, that is Java, C#, they went through the remote control to these various browsers, and where the Selenium core interpreted these commands and executed the actions on application under test. So this is what the Selenium 1.0 was. Now, that is a test written in different languages go through respective client libraries, remote control server Selenium code sitting inside the browser, and finally the command get executed on AUT. But WebDriver took a different approach to run the test on AUT. So what was that different approach? It said that the test returns in Java, C#, Python, Ruby, Perl now directly without the remote control, work with different browsers, and there is a browser driver for each of these browsers which will determine what is the best fit language in which this conversion need to take place to run the test on application under test. So though to support the legacy test automation test scripts, it still supports the Selenium remote control route. So Selenium 2.0 has both, that is you can directly work with the browser drivers, or you can use the traditional script, though how you can use the traditional with a minor tweaking of writing and updating your scripts with the migration policy that they have in place. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick demo of already written script for Selenium WebDriver. So let me just show you. So now what we are doing is that we basically invoke a WebDriver by the name of, let's say, driver. Okay, and of course we are using Selenium WebDriver over here in place of Selenium remote control. And so we do the setup, and what we are doing, for example, over here I am instantiating a Firefox browser using the Firefox driver call, and then after the test I quit this driver. But what is the test? That is driver.get, and then this I give the URL of the page where I want to go, and then I say driver.find element by name queue. So now so this is more more in line with the way the programmers do the programming. And then I say search field dot send keys test to be best, and web element search dot button driver dot 5 element by button gg, and then button g, and then search button dot click, that is click this button, and then I say assert true, that is verify whether advanced search is there, verify whether google.com is there on that page or not, these kind of things. And then I can run this test. So if I run this test, so it will basically launch Firefox, right? Okay, hold on. So it's just still launching. Okay, yeah, so it has launched Firefox. Okay, and okay, so it will go to google.com. So it is connecting to google.com. Maybe there are some network issues at the moment. Okay, it's taking a long time. I'm connecting through my data card at the moment, and this webinar is also going on, so it's not going through. But it will just go to the google.com, type that, give the results, and come back. So let me skip this for the timing. You can try it out. So that's about what we have, and I think I don't have time to cover other stuff. But you can write a JavaScript extension in the sense that it's still going on. Let me cancel this. Okay, so so for example, over here we saw various command that I can write. Let us say I wanted to write a command to generate random numbers. So I have this I've generated my own command called random generator. There is a small JavaScript file that need to be written, and I have to give the path of those extensions over here, right? And then I can run the commands, my own commands from here. So I can generate my own Selenium commands. You can have so Selenium provides APIs to capture screenshots So for example, let's say the whatever test step I do, and after that I want to capture the screenshot, I can do that. Or I can want to capture the video of the sequence of steps, so I can do that. There are APIs available to do that. And you can do data-driven testing by using these frameworks like JUnit and TestNG. And since for example, let's say if you are working with Java, and inside the Eclipse ID you can have jar files which enable you to access an Excel file, and then you can read the rows and columns through that, get the data pairs and run them against your script. So for example, on login page you want to have various combinations of user ID and password for testing. So you can store those combinations in an Excel file, and then read through your Java program these using the Excel reading jar files through these Excel files, and pass them on to your test automation script. So that enables your data-driven testing. Okay. So quick questions, maybe a couple of minutes, and then we can move on to a small quiz. Okay, do we have some questions? Okay, let me just open up the question. Okay, give me some time. Let me. All right. Okay, the question. One of the questions is that I know that Selenium requires programming expertise. Don't you think that that's a barrier to adoption in team dominated by manual testers? I've already shared with you the challenges that you will face if you rely too much on manual testing, especially in web application scenario. So you'll have to learn how to use this tool. Take help from your peer testers who do automation, or your peer developers. So that will enable you to contribute effectively into the team and move faster. Okay. Okay, let me take some other ones. Just hold on. There's a question on Selenium for iOS, for mobile. I'm not sure about the iOS part, but yes, there is a Selenium version for the Android, so you can use that. Okay. Can we use Selenium ID without Firefox? No, you cannot use Selenium ID without Firefox. It comes as a plugin for Selenium ID only. Can we customize Selenium to take screenshot of web pages at various checkpoints? Yes, you can do that. Masood Aftab, there are APIs available to do that. Chandrakant Premdas, can we use Selenium to test mobile apps? Yes, you can do that. And as I shared, Selenium version for Android is available. Okay. Another question is, what changes are to be done? This is from Harish Kumar K. What changes are to be done to Eclipse to use Selenium RC? No changes are to be done to the Eclipse. You just have to install the corresponding test framework that you want to use. For example, JUnit or TestNG. Even otherwise, if you want to straight away write a Java project, you can do that. It's just that you have to add the corresponding jar files, that is the Selenium jar files in your projects, and that will give you access to creating Selenium objects and run the tests. All right, so I think that's all I have time to take the questions. So let's move forward quickly, and maybe if I have a little bit more time left, then we'll take up some more questions. But I have some questions for you, and these questions are, so first is, you know, uh, why is Selenium called Selenium? So as I shared with you, selenium is a element in periodic table, and it is used to cure mercury poisoning. So they started to refer to as it as selenium, because mercury came with a tool called QTP, and selenium was an open source tool. What is Selenese? So Selenese are the selenium commands which are there in the script. What does RC in Selenium stand for? So RC in Selenium stands for, Selenium RC stands for remote control. Is distributed test execution environment supported in Selenium? Yes. And what is it called? It's called the Selenium grid. Can you write test in any popular programming language and run it on Selenium? Yes, you can do that. I've already answered this. What is the other name for Selenium WebDriver? So yeah, that's right. It's Selenium 2.0. And is Selenium open source? Yes, it's an open source tool. Okay, and uh, this is the location for the course which is available on Selenium automation. Let me just share it with you. So okay, let me just 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the Selenium automation course which is available, and if you want to know more about this course, you can have you can give your name, email, and contact, and somebody from TechGeek can reach out to you and explain. And it basically covers everything related to Selenium and will help you get started on Selenium automation. Okay, and of course there is this course on the software testing. So for those of you who want to brush up your knowledge on software testing, or if you have not done any formal training on software testing, so this is available at techgeek.com/ecourses. Here are my contact details, my email ID, the Test to Best community Facebook page, Google group, and its website. You can find me on TechGeek, Facebook, LinkedIn as Ganesh Sahai, and on Twitter as G Sahai, and of course my new training and services venture, biztrain.com. Okay, thank you very much. I hope this webinar has been of value to you, and let's keep learning whatever news coming our way. Thank you very much, and I'll try to see if I can answer some of the questions that you might have on the webinar page. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for the insightful presentation, Mr. Sai. I'm really thankful to you for conducting this webinar. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for the support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this session would be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
I shall